NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte says European allies do not need to worry about U.S. support for the military bloc. Mr. Rutte was speaking ahead of a two-day summit in the Netherlands, where talks are expected to center on keeping Washington firmly on the bloc side.
My message to my European colleagues is stop worrying so much. Start to make sure that you get investment plans done, that you get industrial base up and running, that the support for Ukraine remains at a high level. Luckily, it is still today. I mean, this is what you should work on, and stop running around being worried about the US. They're with us.
Our NATO leaders are expected to agree to ramp up their spending on defense to 5% of their GDPs, as demanded by the US president. The summit will be Mr. Trump's first since his re-election. While boosting spending on defense may keep the US happy, Russia sees it as rampant militarization. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says NATO is using Moscow to justify an increase in defense spending. The bloc, however, remains firm on its position to support Ukraine in a war waged by Russia. But developments in the Middle East risk overshadowing discussions on Ukraine, even with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reportedly preparing to meet Mr. Trump on the sidelines of this summit. And more, Will Denselow joins us live from The Hague in the Netherlands. Will, the focus of this summit will be on defense spending. What do we know about plans to increase that baseline spending to 5%?
Well, NATO's Secretary-General Mark Rutte says the calculation is very clear. He says that in what takes NATO allies 1 year to produce when it comes to its defense capabilities, it takes Moscow and Russia just 3 months. He says that that is not sustainable going forward. He says that NATO might be in a strong position to defend itself and its roughly 1 billion population that are among NATO's allies today from adversaries that he includes as being Russia, Iran, North Korea, even China. But he says that in 3, 5, 7 years' time, it might not be the case. That is why Mark Rutte is calling for more defence spending and for that supply to keep up with that increased demand. When it comes to defence industry ramping up, he says he wants to see a 5-fold increase in defence from aerial bombardments, things like drones, that capability. He wants to see more tanks and, crucially, he says, more ammunition. And when it comes to the raw metrics, that defence spending, the current benchmark, of course, sits at 2%. Mark Rutte says that he wants to see it hit that 5% figure in the future. A number of allies, including the UK, have cited 2035 as when they want to hit that figure. The US says accountability is key amongst allies. They say they'll be checking in every single year to make sure allies are making incremental gains to hit that 5% figure in the future.
Well, Mark Rutte making a very special effort to keep the attention on this likely promise to reach that 5% goal on defense spending and keeping Mr. Trump's attention off the much more thorny issue of Ukraine. Even so, as we just mentioned, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky likely to meet Mr. Trump not in the main summit itself, but on the sidelines.
That's absolutely right. And Mark Rutte has been keen to note that just because of the developments in the Middle East and the conflict between Iran and Israel, he says that there's no reason why NATO can't very much focus on twin crises, and Ukraine will be central. There has been today scheduled meetings between the EU, the UK, as well as Ukraine, and Secretary General Mark Rutte. There'll be working dinners on Ukraine as well. And you mentioned we're hearing reports from Ukrainian officials that President Zelensky will be meeting face-to-face with US President Donald Trump. It's seen as a huge opportunity to galvanize some of the rapprochement we saw in the Vatican recently. After that, of course, infamous blowout between the two world leaders in the Oval Office. So there'll be certainly hopes from Kyiv that more momentum can be built when it comes to US providing lasting security guarantees as Washington seeks to broker a lasting peace between Russia and Ukraine. But here at NATO, and we've heard again from Mark Rutte on the issue of Ukraine, saying that it's up to European allies to do even more when it comes to defence for Kiev, not relying quite so heavily on the United States. We're expecting more pledges for Kiev. Mark Rutte has also praised allies for the commitments they've already given this year to Kiev, saying that the amount pledged by NATO's allies for Kiev this year already amounts to over $40 billion, which he says is on track to surpass the financial rewards given to Kiev for the whole of last year as well. So he says certainly progress is being made on that front.
Well, thanks. Will Denselow there live at The Hague, where the NATO Summit is being held.